of the Biz Show, sponsored by InvestQuire. Discover what's next with this insightful podcast. And now, your hosts, Barry and Lisa.
Lisa, how you doing? You're so happy. Look at you. You're laughing already.
You make me laugh. I can't tell you. I don't know what to tell you. It's a Sunday morning. It's raining, and I don't know. It's just like we don't have a day off, so you might as well just have fun while you're working, right?
Always. You know, it's afternoon here, bright, sunny. It's going to be 80 today here. So.
Oh, wow. Good weather on the East Coast.
Yeah. So right now it's spring and it's starting to get a little bit warmer. No humidity yet, so that's really good. We're liking that.
Oh, yeah. Enjoy the spring while it lasts, for sure.
Spring and fall.
Yes.
You know,
We had a nice Easter. How about you?
Yeah, it was nice. I went up and visited some family, so that was really good. You know, for us, hurricane season starts June 1. And
Oh,
so
wow.
that's really our rainy season. We last year got 70 inches of rain. So this year they said it might be a little lower. We might get 66 inches of rain.
Oh, my gosh. Get your canoe and your kayak and just be prepared.
I want a motorboat.
Yeah, that would be
Well,
nice.
listen, everybody, welcome to the Biz Show again. This is episode 15. Wow, 15 of season 4 of the Biz
Yes.
Show. Lisa and I are just pumping these things out for you, trying to educate you the best we can in regards to all things related business. This one is on the topic of, can you bootstrap and raise money with your company, or can you bootstrap or raise money with your company? And we're going to talk about that, right? Because a lot of people are
Yeah.
confused. Do I bootstrap it or do I raise money? And what's the difference between the two? We're going to talk about that and then how you can do it together.
Yeah, we're here to help you find the best method, right? Because we all like to raise a little money and get our business up to the next level of profitability. And so let's dive in. I'm excited about this.
Yes. So listen, a lot of founders think they have to choose between bootstrapping or raising money for their company, raising capital, right? When we say
And we
raising
don't.
capital, we're talking about that. So in reality, the strongest companies do both, right? So it's just knowing when to do it, how to do it, and position yourself properly.
Exactly. Strategy counts.
Yeah.
So then how do you transition from bootstrap to funded growth?
Well, you know, it's a discipline, right? And in that discipline, capital accelerates growth, but discipline actually starts at the beginning, Lisa, right? So, I'm sorry, bootstrapping starts at the beginning.
Yeah.
It's the discipline of really disciplining you on how to do it.
Right. And then you can use the capital as a tool and you're
Right.
bootstrapping the discipline, then the capital can become your tool. And the best companies can integrate both of those and be able to do both. So
Yeah.
what does bootstrapping really mean though for the company?
So what does that really mean? You know, and that's an excellent question, really. So, you know, it builds the business using internal resources, your own money, you know, maybe your friends and family, maybe some early revenue you have coming in if you have an MVP, right? A minimum viable product that you can sell and make it and generate a little bit of money after that. And then taking that money and reinvesting it back in the company,
Right, right.
right? So,
And the bootstrapped companies will tend to like understand their customers better. They'll be able to prioritize their profitability on an earlier stage of development, and they build stronger operational foundations for their company by bootstrapping. But the growth tends to be slower, right? Because you're able to just move along at the pace that the monies are actually available to you. So the growth of your company could be stronger, but we always do point to like the stability and longevity of your company is a slow growth, a slow and steady, consistent growth, right? And
right.
so the resource constraints could be limited, but you just want to scale appropriately. And some companies do get ahead of themselves and they see, their business doing well and money coming in, and then they, put a lot of money back into the company, and then they're like finding themselves, in the red. And we don't want that to happen. So be okay with the slow growth and just be patient and just keep
Yeah.
tracking years along the way so that you will have a good, confident feeling about scaling.
Yeah, and what I like about that, Lisa, is when you are bootstrapping and stuff like that, and you mentioned, right, that understanding your customers better, right? You said that. And to me, I love working with customers, right? And drilling down and getting to know them. And then from there, you get to know their wants and their needs and then how you can help them better. So
Yes.
when you bootstrap, it really puts you on the front line, right?
Yeah.
And so because you're not hiring a sales team to go out there and do all that stuff, you are working through all of the dynamics of your marketing, your advertising, your sales, and figuring out what's working, what's not working, what people don't care about, and stuff like that before you even hire and bring somebody in.
Yeah, because then you'll have your own intuition when to pull the trigger, right? Because you'll be on the front line, like Barry said, and you'll be able to really identify, are these customers going to, be recurring customers for you, or are you going to continue to receive growth and profitability from them? So that will help you make the decision.
Exactly. So that's bootstrapping. Let's talk about raising capital now. What does that mean? Well, basically, it's using other people's money, right? OPM, other people's money. How? Yeah. But it's bringing outside investors into your company, exchanging equity, right? Equity for future equity for funding.
Yes.
Now, what can that do? Well, that accelerates your growth because all of a sudden, you've got $100,000 or $250,000 or whatever you asked for in your bank account, and you can spend that money to hire people, to buy product, whatever the case might be. So,
Mhm.
your growth is accelerated. You can hire employees much faster because you've got the funds to do it. You can expand into other markets much faster, right? And then you can invest in development, right? Whether it's services, whether it's product, whatever the case might be. So that does allow you to grow your business a lot faster than bootstrapping.
Yes, exactly. But with that growth, you want to beware of these various aspects, what comes along with borrowing other people's money. Now you're going to be held extremely accountable to the growth of your company. There's going to need to be reports that are shared with the investor. There's going to need to be timelines and timeframes that you have to adhere to in order for them to want to maybe reinvest money or feel that there was stability with their investment. Because with capital comes dilution, which we talked about on our episode 14, our last podcast. The accountability factor comes into play, and of course, their investor expectations, which you clearly want to make sure you align with that investor's capital expectations in the forefront because you are signing that dotted line and you want to act in good faith on behalf of your investor's capital. So it's going to be a good strategic partnership for you. Um, and also that pressure to grow, it could serve as a friendly competitive motivation for your company, right? Because you're going to now have to be accountable to somebody else besides yourself, and so that pressure to grow will be upon you. So just be prepared for that challenge that comes along with borrowing capital, like it's a little added pressure. But people could switch that in their mind and make that become a motivating factor to bring their business to the next level, because money obviously isn't free. It's a strategic decision on your actual confidence in building your company and taking it to the next level.
You mean money doesn't grow on trees?
Well, my children thought that for a long time, and now they're learning for themselves.
Yes, exactly,
That is
right?
good.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, you're right, Lisa. No money's free. It's going to cost you, whether it's in dilution, meaning equity in the company.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of
We've
those things are going to become your worst nightmare and headaches.
yeah, we've been asked to sell a company that was around for 40 plus years, but they kept borrowing money and borrowing capital because they were a very lucrative company, but they borrowed so much that they didn't grow enough to account for all of those loans that they took out. And they unfortunately, I think, went under. We weren't able to sell because they had numbers that were in the red, and
Yeah,
no buyer was going to buy a company that owes all the money to these
yeah.
investors.
We had
Yeah.
one particular business we were trying to sell that we
Yeah.
couldn't
Yeah.
because we found out later after the fact there was a whole bunch of debt hidden back behind there
Yeah.
that wasn't being shown. But
I wouldn't want to take that on. I don't know about you guys, but that's really what you have to be careful for, right?
yep,
And
exactly. So here's the thing: the best founders out there, they do both, right? They understand the dynamics and they do both. So they bootstrap early on, right? From day one, probably just for the first 6 months of the company, they're going to bootstrap, validate everything, get it all set and good to go. They're going to start building that traction up. And then about 6 months in, after they see progress and see stuff like that, then they can go to investors and then they can start raising capital to scale the
Yeah.
company. Because now they've got track record they can show them. Look what we did in the first 90 days. Look what we did in the first 180 days. This is the track we're on. And if it's a
Yeah.
good track, investors are going to jump on board with you.
Yeah, and they do like the fact that you have bootstrapped and that you have put in your own investment because then they know that you have risk involved, and that helps the investors say, okay, I'm willing to put my risk involved too. So, like Barry mentioned, they want to see that you have demonstrated discipline with your own monies and that your own monies have produced revenue for the company. So, investors are going to prefer that you have existing revenue or maybe a history of revenue from the time that you started your company. And that will help them realize that this is a good decision and a good company to invest in. And that also shows that you understand your market because you're asking for capital and you understand like when to ask for that capital after a period of time that you've already created the stability and discipline within your company. And that'll make the investor pull the trigger and want to also invest in your company. And so the bootstrapping pretty much will clarify for the investor that you have proof of your numbers, you have credibility, and that you're at a point where you have leverage for them to bring more monies to the table for you to continue to grow.
Right. And leverage is a big thing, right? And if you think about that in a mechanical sense, if you've got a 100-pound weight over here and you got a 6-foot stick and you're trying to lift it with that stick, if you put it in really, really close, or, here's the stick and you put it way far on the one side, you can't lift it because there's nothing to lift. But if you stick that
Right.
thing really close, then you can go way back over there and you can lift that up, right? So leverage is important. And you want as much leverage as you can get, especially as a
Yeah.
small business, right?
Yeah. You think
So
of it like a,
when, yeah, so when should you use Bootstrap? Well, as we said, probably, I'm going to say the first 6 months, but most importantly, when you're validating the company, the ideal, whatever you're doing, right? You're now looking at testing your product in the market. See, does it work? Does it fit? These are all things that should be coming out of your own pocket, right? Because investors don't want to pay for that, right? Uh, Capital is no one's going to invest in anyway, as I said above, right? That you're still kind of validating who you are.
yeah.
And then your goal here is to generate at least some early revenue, right? Yeah,
I mean, why have a company if you're not generating revenue, guys? Come on,
right.
right? That should be your number one goal. So also you want to bootstrap when you can maintain control of your company yourself, and that feels comfortable for you, right? So you want to continue to feel in that comfort zone until you know that, again, you have the history of numbers and revenue continuing. You are refining your business model. Maybe you are tweaking, working out some of the twerks and tweaks of your company. And, we always say fail forward. So maybe you're still kind of smoothing out the way your operations are going. And so, that would be the time that you're refining your business model, right? And you have the ability to do that because you don't have to answer to an investor or anything like that. And you're also building, your discipline within the team or the operations of the company. So you're creating a good foundation, a good strong foundation.
You know, I honestly, Lisa, I think this is where a lot of founders and early startup businesses fail in the
Yeah.
operational discipline, right? That's where we can help. That's where InvestPart reach out to us. We can help you structure your company properly, get it
Yeah.
set up, and help guide you on a path that can build and work the momentum for you. A lot of people they just think they're going to wing it, and those who wing it only wing it for a few months and then they're out doing something else because that didn't work because
Yes.
they didn't know what they were doing,
Right.
right?
Yep. That could be a tough one for people because you get emotionally invested in your company and then it becomes about emotion instead of a strong business mind, like a leader.
Mhm.
And so you really got to, have that line defined and so that you know when to put on that business hat. And, running a company is hard. You got to let go of maybe a family
Yeah.
member that is working for you or it doesn't align with your vision. And so there's a lot of variables that come into play. And so it's easier sometimes to hire management services like Barry and I at InvestQuire because then there's no emotion involved and we're here to help you create growth for your company. So
Right.
yeah,
And we're going to tell you the hard facts, right? Where you're at, and it might not be in a very good place, but we can help you build a path and help you get out of that, right?
and it could
So,
be the appropriate time, like when they're raising capital and they're actually getting an investor in play. That could be the time to hire somebody like us, because then you have the funds available, and then we can help push your company to the next, level.
right, right. It's kind of that catch 22, if you will. But yeah. Well, let's talk about, okay, when is the right time to raise capital, right? So we talked about bootstrapping. So when is the right time to raise capital? Well, after you just did everything that we just recently talked about, right?
Yeah.
But also, because what has happened? You've proved that there's a demand for your services, your company, right? The whatever you provide. You also understand the economics of the market, of your business, and the ecosystem of how it all fits together and works, right? So you need to know that, because investors are going to sniff that out immediately right off the
Right.
bat. If you
Yeah.
don't know your market, they're going to know.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
and then so when you need to add capital to help accelerate growth for your business, so you've got it to a
Yeah.
certain point, you flat-toed a little bit, but now you can use that momentum on what you did to move to the next, right? And it's stepping stones. It's like you move, or a ladder, right? Going up the rung of the ladder each time.
Hmm.
And then, but here's the one thing that's so important for investors. Lisa, you and I run into all the time. Investors want to know, what are you going to do? It's called use of proceeds. What are you going to use my money on? Right?
Hmm. Yeah.
And I've said it a million times. Please don't say marketing and advertising, because
No
that's going to
general.
shut the door down. They're going to walk out because
They
they
want to
don't want
see like
that.
different segments of your money going to different categories and expenses. They want to like
Right.
break it down to a penny, right?
I,
Yeah.
I just got a pitch deck Friday, and looking at this, it looked interesting and good, but as I ran the numbers, because they did, and I ran the percentages of their proceeds, and 38% of their proceeds were going to marketing and advertising.
Hmm.
And then the next bit of their proceeds, the next highest, that was 38%. The
Yeah.
next one was 24%
Of
of the
going to
proceeds was going to production and
marketing.
stuff like that. And the funny thing of it all is, I was really surprised to see only 7% was going
Yeah.
to research and development.
Wow.
I'm like, dude, you need to flip that upside down. You need
Yeah.
38% of that going to research and
Yeah.
development, right? So I mean, you're a brand new company. You're not making any money,
That's so
and
good.
it's just an idea, really. But
Yeah.
yeah. So people don't get it. They don't understand. And when you're in the business long enough, as Lisa and I are, you know what the investors are looking for.
I think you need to send them the podcast link
Yeah, definitely.
without having to insult them in a more direct way. Like, hey, take a listen.
Oh, I insulted him. I did. I told him, you need to flip that. This is completely upside down. And
Oh,
then,
okay.
but I explained why. I said, look,
Yeah. Well, if they want us to be successful raising capital,
yeah,
yeah.
well, they want us to be honest, right? So they're going to give us something. We're going to look at it and say, here's what you need. And
Yeah.
we do that. Lisa and I, we do that. We'll tell you what you need, right? So you need to fix this. You need to fix this, and you need
Yeah.
to change this over here.
Takes a team, right? Takes a team.
Right. Right.
So, anyway, so capital could be used for scaling,
Mm-hmm.
not experimenting. We're not here to like throw money on something that's not going to be believed in or proven to work. So it's for scaling your company at the right time, like Barry mentioned, climbing up that ladder. And expanding your proven models that you already have in place. Like, where is a company going? Show where the direction, your goals, your vision, outline it in a time frame format so that the capital investor will buy into that, right? You do have to sell him on where the company is going. Um, and you're hiring strategically along that growth pattern so that you won't be able to, so you'll be in a position to perform and not be like, oh my gosh, I have so much growth, but all the money's like going out the door because you cannot perform. So you also are going to need to allot those funds for hiring, and hiring at the right time, and hiring some good people on your team. And so you have to be very strategic about that. And again, that's another area where a lot of business owners don't have the time to invest in hiring, interviewing, training, getting their right team in play. And we could be doing that as InvestQuire in the background for you while you're, growing your company. We could be doing the hiring part for you and just plug those people, plug and play, as we like to call it. And also, capital should be used for entering into new markets because, again, that's part of your vision, it's part of your expansion plan. And so, you want to identify that, like I said, to the investor and have that all spelled out. And they're going to love that. They're going to love that you're thinking forward motion because, obviously, raising capital is for the future, right? For the future growth and the future revenue that your company is definitely going to receive.
Yes, definitely. So let's talk about then when and how,
Yeah, that's
how do you transition from the bootstrapping
right.
to getting funded, right? So the
Really
first
challenging.
step, yeah, it is. And we've talked, prior to this, almost everything we talked about is really that, right? In the sense that you got to build traction, right? And how are you going to build that traction? You're going to have revenue, you're going to have a customer base, you're going to have repeatable sales. So
Yeah.
all that bootstrapping that you've done, you built all that up and stuff like that, that's the momentum that you go to build that traction. The second thing, step two, you're going to need is you need to clean up your financials, right? So, Lisa, how many times do we get financials that they're just all over the place? Not only
Yeah, there's
that, but there's personal stuff mixed in with the business stuff. We literally got receipts out of somebody to sell it. We didn't sell it because it's like, go back and hire an accountant or CPA and do these, and we can take looks. We don't even know how much money you made. Oh, well, I think I made 75,000 last year. That's great, but we can't go off of that. We need proof,
yeah, we
right?
just had another company they wanted us to sell, but they didn't even know their numbers. We're like, okay, well, you need to find that out first and then come back.
Exactly, exactly. So clean up your financials, right? So make sure you have an accounting package, right? Whether it's QuickBooks, whether it's Sage, there's Zero out there, which it actually starts with an Xero. I think that's free actually. Um, so those are some resources for you to use, right? So accounting, make sure everything is clear and concise, and then it has an organized structure, right? So make sure that your expenses go in your expenses, and we don't have to go off and look at them and find, oh look, there's revenue. That's not that's not revenue. That's an expense.
Yeah, and we just, we want you to be careful that you're not running to an investor for capital like an emergency. So when Barry mentions organized, it's because you put thought into the growth of your company and the track record of what your company has already accomplished. And you're going to them in an organized, confident, calm fashion, not like an emergency. Oh my God, I need this money because I'm growing too fast. And so that's going to really, spell out for the capital partner whether or not this is an emergency thing or if it's a stability move to invest in your company and provide capital. So you want to build that narrative. You want to show them that, look, I've organized this in a way of this is where my company has been. I have all of the clean financials to show you. And then you want to show them with all that proven results and revenue what their capital investment will unlock for you and for them, and why there's going to be an upside for them to provide you the capital. So
Yeah.
when you do that in that organized fashion and structure with everything spelled out cleanly, then they're going to go, wow, this person knows what they're doing, knows where they're going, knows what they're talking about. And they're going to like feel confident in making that potential investment because you're able to show them how the growth will accelerate your business. So step four would be to actually present this to the right investors and aligning with people that are, ready to invest in somebody that's at your stage of the company. Not every investor, wants to work with people in the beginning stages of a company or a company that's maybe almost ready to exit, right? So aligning with the right investor based on the stage of your company is also a key component. And then aligning, of course, with somebody that has interest in your industry. I mean, that's like a no-brainer. You probably don't even have to sell them very much if they have this passion for your industry, right? So those are some
Right.
of the key points on when to strategically transfer from just bootstrapping to raising capital.
Lisa, I took some notes while you were talking, and
Thank
I think what we should do is you and I have a document that is what we need to see when you're selling your business or you're looking for investors.
Yeah.
Maybe I should put that document online on our website at investquire.com so that people can just download that thing, right? I mean, we send it out and email it to people all the time, but maybe we should just throw it up there and then people can just, because our all of our listeners who are not subscribers yet, please subscribe.
Yeah.
They don't have access to our email, even though they can email us. You can go to
Yeah.
our website, find our email address and phone numbers, and email us, and we definitely will give them that document. However, I think I'll just throw it up there so they can just come and grab it too.
Yeah, let's provide some value, at their fingertips, and they could just, like you said, go into our website and get that downloaded. And they won't even have to make a call or send us a text. Yeah, I love that idea, Barry.
Right, right. As you were talking, I'm like, yeah, we should just put that up there for them to take. It's going to make our life easier. One less
True.
email we have to send.
Yes, they'll be ready to go when they're ready to sell. Yep.
Right. So let's talk about for a minute how investors view bootstrapped companies because it's important, right? So first of all, they see you as a startup and a bootstrapped as disciplined, right? Because you've gone through everything, you've seen it all the motions, you've talked to your customers and stuff like that. They see you as efficient. And even
Yeah.
though you're not making a whole lot of revenue yet, they still see you as low risk because they know you're in the game. You're in it and every day and you're doing what you need to do instead of somebody who's just sitting back like this going, well, whatever comes, comes.
I know. I mean, while you're talking, I was just thinking about, like, I mean, if you're going to be participating in a marathon, which my son Anthony is on May 3rd, it's a 26K in Orange County, and he has been slowly scaling his pace and endurance in the amount of miles he could run without walking or without stopping or without losing his breath. So if he were to show up at the marathon without any of that training or proven, runs or timing, that he's been keeping track of in his like endurance growth throughout the last few months training for this marathon, he would be showing up and maybe make it a mile and probably quit, be huffing and puffing and just give up. But he'll be there at the race and with these proven numbers of like, I can do 20 miles, I could do 22 miles, I could make it to the finish line. And so those are the runners that I'm going to be, cheering for. So that's like just an analogy that I thought of while you were talking, showing up prepared and having your endurance and your
Well,
scalability to
con-
perform. So
congratulations to Anthony for sure. For me, I'm lucky if I can make it to the bathroom and back without taking a 2 hour nap, needing a bowl of Wheaties.
no, 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 that's not true. You've been going to the gym. I'm so proud of you.
I have been working out, and yes, I'm being a little facetious here, but at the end of the day, I'm not
You
nearly close to the shape that he's in.
Yeah, so I'm going to invest in Anthony because he's going to have the growth potential to complete the 26 miles. He has the scalability. He's ready for this growth because of the track record and the time that he's put into himself. So these are the things that investors are going to view in the bootstrapping of your company. Like what have you done so far? And your ability to deploy the capital like efficiently and promptly and effectively, that's going to be key too, because if you don't have all these other key components in place, they're going to give you the money. What are you going to do? Sit on it? I mean, time is money. So you're going to be owing that money back to them. So they want to know that you could deploy the capital effectively. And bootstrapping alone is not enough. It must lead to growth. Like you can't just show like, oh, I put all this money, but I have no revenue or numbers to show it. That's not an investment the capital partner is going to want to make. So
Yeah, exactly. I mean, who wants to invest with a company when you look at their financials, they keep losing money month after month after month. I don't want to invest that in company.
no,
I'm looking for a company that's raising money, even if it's a small growth. Even if month
yeah,
over month, if you've got maybe 4 or 5% growth,
yeah,
and it's sustainable month over month over month. That's positive.
yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about resources, right? Because there are some resources out there that aren't necessarily always free, but they are resources to help you organize yourself and stuff like that. Number one, everybody knows QuickBooks, right? So QuickBooks is
Yeah.
number one. There's Sage, which is uh, a little bit more corporate America type, geared
Yeah.
towards the big billion-dollar corporations, Sage. And then there's Zero. As I said, it starts with XERO. I do believe Zero is free, or it has a free version.
Mhm.
There's also business plan wise, Live Plan, and you can use Live Plan to build a business. It's pretty good. It's not bad, but if you're just starting out, something is better than nothing, right? I
Yeah.
suggest you reach out to Lisa and I. We will help you build a solid business plan.
Yeah.
And I think I told this story before. When I first started out with business plans, Lisa, back way, way, way back in the day, it was about weight. How many pages this thing was? If it was a good 5 pounds, you got
Yeah.
funded. They didn't even look at it. You know,
No. Yeah.
nowadays they look at them and they don't want, a 500-page business plan. A
That's pretty
20
fun.
page is probably good for you.
Yeah.
And we have an outline on that too. And then, of course, everybody probably knows what Excel is, or, I believe Google has Sheets. You could
Yeah.
do either one of those because that's where spreadsheets are going to come and play into, well, back to QuickBooks, right? You can export stuff into spreadsheets and stuff like that. And because investors are going to want to see that stuff. Of course, you don't want to give them your login credentials to QuickBooks. So you export it to a spreadsheet and then you email them the probably a PDF version of the spreadsheet nonetheless.
That's right. Right. Yeah. And obviously you're going to need the platforms for them, right, to give you the money. So they're going to want to know that you have an angel list, or if it's going to be Seed Invest or Gust, with the cap table and equity management. Did you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I know David Rose from Gust. He's the CEO of it. We've done deals in the past, David and I. I'm going to reach out to him.
Oh, write down another note.
Yes.
Yeah, and some more platforms would be Carta and Pulley. So those are some examples of fundraising and investor platforms for you as a resource or a tool when you're at the stage of capital raising. So let's go through the pro tips of our podcast quickly, and then we'll do the things to avoid so we can wrap up episode 15.
All right. I'm writing a note to reach out to David.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I haven't talked to David in probably 5 years.
Hmm.
Um, all right. So pro tip number one, when you bootstrap is for validating, right? It's making sure that you have a viable product or a viable company, whatever the case might be, right? Raising capital only when it creates leverage for you going into a brand new market, right? Something like that, and know exactly how to use that money. Again, use of proceeds. And budget. Before you even collect a dime of the investor's money, you should have a budget for that money already. They're going to want to see
Yeah,
that, right? That's a use of proceeds, but for them, you might give them just an overview of that, but for you, you need a detailed budget.
well, you need to know what you're going to do. Like that's part of the deployment of the funds, right? So the
Right.
deployment of the and the use of funds are kind of like all in one, all the same.
Yep.
So pro tip number 4, don't raise money just because it's available to you or you're in an urgent state of matter. That's not very sensible. And that could lead to a lot of dilution. Pro tip
Yes.
number 5, maintain discipline like you did when it was in your own money, but
Yep.
maintain that discipline even after you receive the capital. And pro tip 6, use capital to scale what already works because that's going to be seamless. It's going to be effortless and it's already happening before you even receive the capital. So that is just going to continue to stay in effect, hopefully. You don't need to change all of the things that you've already developed and built just because you have the capital. So keep that momentum flowing.
Yeah. One of my mentors, way, way back in the day, had made a statement that holds true. I mean, it resonated with me and it holds true in the sense they said, when you're doing your accounting and your budgeting and all that stuff, he says, obviously you pay attention. He says, but when you're not making a whole lot of money, you're paying attention. But when you start making a whole lot of money, you need to pay even more attention. Where's that money going? And are you
Powerful.
spending money uselessly or whatever? Maybe you've got subscriptions coming in that you don't need anymore. right?
Yeah.
So he says, make sure when
Yeah.
you make more money, you pay attention. So when you get investors' capital and money funding, pay attention.
Hmm. Yeah, you have that accountability, so don't ruin the relationship and reputation of your business.
Well, yeah, because
I
you
also,
want them to invest again if you need it.
yes. So here we go, right into the things that you want
Okay,
to avoid. Yeah.
shoot,
Mhm.
go ahead.
Using investor money without a clear strategy, that's a big no-no. Confusing revenue with scalability. I mean, you don't need the money, you want the money because you know what you're going to do with it.
Yep.
And like Barry said, don't lose your financial discipline after raising the capital. Keep everything continuous. Um, yeah,
Yeah, very good. Well, I think
so
that's a wrap for us, Lisa. Yeah.
yeah,
Hopefully, we were able to at least get you guys a little understanding of bootstrapping versus raising capital and when to do which, right?
yeah, not
Understanding the
choosing,
fundamentals.
yeah,
Yeah,
not choosing
definitely.
one, but being able to do both.
Yes, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, listen, thank you so much for tuning in, guys. We appreciate it. Lisa and I you can reach us at our Facebook page at the Biz Show or the Biz Show on Facebook, or
And invest.
also, yeah, investquire.com. You can contact us there if you got questions or if you've got some topics you want us to cover, or perhaps you want to be a guest on the podcast. You have a
Yeah.
business, you have a story you want to tell. We want to hear it.
We would love to meet you and we'd love to have you on the show. Tell all of your friends to subscribe. We need the listeners. We need our numbers to go up. That's the only way to keep
Yes,
this
we
business.
do. Yes. All right,
All
guys.
right,
Well, thank
guys.
you. Have a good day and go out there and make some money.
Thank you all for listening to the Biz Show podcast. Subscribe to stay updated and follow Barry and Lisa on Facebook at The Biz Show. Share your comments or suggest business topics that you'd like to hear. Thank you all for listening. Bye.